If we can move on, someone else who not everyone understands or knows about your relationship with, Alex Ferguson. So I know you. Well, I understand you're great friends with Alex, long respected relationship. So it would have been really odd because I think you were already friends before the '92 Championship battle. So I'm just wondering, what was that like, having that fearsome rivalry with someone who was a friend?
That's sport.
Yeah, I understand that, but just tell us about, because not everyone gets it. Just tell me a little bit about that.
Well, that's respect.
Yeah.
You've got to you understand what it is you're doing.
Yeah.
And therefore you understand what it is they're trying to do. I can't think of a better example than boxing.
Yeah.
You're against him.
Yeah.
He's got certain qualities, you've got certain qualities. And what you're thinking is, how can I maximise what it is I do such that it comes out better than what he's doing to stop me? And that's football.
And that was, it seemed to me, very different approaches, because it seemed to me Sir Alex was doing a lot of this mind games, and he's always done that. Did you recognise that what he was doing? So was it purposely you chose not to buy it or took a completely different approach? Just tell me about it.
Not really, no.
Was it just instinct?
No, because it's what happens on the pitch that matters.
Yeah, no, I get that. But obviously you're building something in the dressing room, and the players talk really highly of that. Even keel, let's see what happens, stick to the knitting, look after ourselves first. Was it, I suppose what I'm asking, was it intentional to just portray, look, don't worry about it type, or was it just...
No. I what matters is Saturday.
Yeah.
And what you've got to do in your way is what he's got to do in his way. You know, so there's more ways than one to skin a cat. But at the end of it, it's what you are doing is what you're doing good enough to deal with what they're doing.
Okay.
That's the performance on the pitch is what matters. But there are other factors that can help in terms of that performance and in terms of the effectiveness of that. And you know, the crowd, when people talk about crowds and a good crowd and a bad crowd, I always took the view, well, they pay the money and they turn up, and what they all want is victory. What individuals see within that, then they see different things. Some will go away saying, well, we played well today, but we lost. You know, but we did play well. I think that's it'd be great if everybody in the crowd thought like that.
Yeah, but they don't.
But they're not there for that.
Yeah.
They're there to have their moment once a week where they can shout and bawl and enjoy and laugh and feel part of something that's successful.
Okay. And at the end of that season, say you finished off and you were champions, did you and Sir Alex have any discussions about how that was after it was over?
No, not long discussions like that. Rarely, Alex and I rarely talked about if we were together in a social situation. We rarely talked about that side of it.
Okay.
You know? Probably more about she was in a bad mood today.
Who's that? That's not Sam, is it?
Yeah.
That's not Sam you're talking about, is it? I suppose one of the things that you and Sir Alex, I think, had in common was this thing about youth footballers or young footballers and developing and bringing through. And I wanted to talk to you a little bit about that. I mean, we know everything about Claude Parks, but we rarely hear about the people behind that. And as I understand it, the first people or the first guy that came in around it was someone you worked with before, Dick Bate. Do you want to tell me a little bit about Dick Bate, what he'd done before, and the early days then? Then we'll talk maybe about
Dick and I,
etc.
Dick and I we met Boston United,
Yeah.
and travelled together. He was intelligent, had been doing teaching and he was big into coaching and so on and so forth. So we had very, very similar interests. Slightly different backgrounds, but very similar interests. So my days at Boston with Dick in the car were great.
Yeah.
Travelling to Boston could take 2 hours in the car, sometimes longer, sometimes less. And during that time, where appropriate, you could have intelligent conversations.
Yeah.
But Dick and I were we were from sort of similar backgrounds. His dad might have been a teacher, I think, thinking back. But his upbringing was more middle class than mine, in that silly sense of the word, 2 words. But we just hit it off. We agreed on lots of things, and when we didn't agree, we'd discuss it properly. But what both of us thought, was based on knowledge, combined with experience, not just experience. The fundamental of physical fitness, one fundamental of physical fitness and acquiring physical fitness is understanding oxygen debt.
Yeah.
Which leads on to you knowing that, well, he's capable of doing that in that time, and he's capable of doing that in that time, and he's capable of them, but we can only just precisely what those 2 things are by then, as is happening now, analysing people in a deeper way in terms of measurements, physical, so on and so forth. So now, the training and coaching staff at a very successful club, and all the staff that are employed, the input from all sorts of aspects will be great and helpful, but ultimately somebody's got to make a decision, and that's the coach.
And bringing in Dick, was that just intentional? You thought he was the right person to do the youth development, or was it not as focused on that in terms of implementing?
No, it was. I'm trying to think. I think you may know it was because we were at Boston,
Right.
and travelling together.
Okay, but you moved on. I'm not sure how quickly, but Paul Hart came in about 91, something like that.
I mean, into Leeds.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So was that you were looking for something different, or Paul was a good guy? Tell me about Paul coming in. Was he a straight replacement, or what for Dick?
No, I think you know, I'm trying. I think Dick moved. I think he got a better. I can't remember now. You'd have to do some research. But he's written a book. I'm sure Dick did.
Yeah.
And I'd got to know Paul, and I heard things about Paul and so on, and he was, and I just recognised that he would be the sort of person who fitted into my thinking about preparation and managing and so on. That's the only basic reasons why I would have employed anybody.
Okay. And talked to Eddie Gray not so long ago, and he tells me to tell about when he came in and he goes along the route of you arranged to meet him because you wanted to talk to him and he thought you were going to give him a bollocking for something. He talked about, or what he said was, you'd said to him, you wanted him to come and work with you around the youth team and you wanted players that excited you. So, and he also talked about almost he was the foil to Paul Hart, who was a bit of a hard man and a disciplinarian. Just talk me about that. Was that an intention part? Was that happy accident?
Yeah, Eddie, to a degree, yeah. He had a if he walked into a dressing room anywhere at that time, people would have gone, he's good. So, but as well as, he's good, he understood the job.
Yeah.
And he understood what mattered in the job. I suppose the difference between writing a song and fucking delivering it.
Did you know Eddie before that then? You met him? Because I can't think where you would have come across him prior to.
Not really, no. Was he at Leeds when I went?
No, I think he'd gone off. He left after he was manager before Bremner came in. I think he went off to some of the other clubs like Whitby, etc.
Yeah.
And he tells it that you brought him back to Leeds.
Yeah. Well, number one, being a good player does not mean you're going to be a good coach. But being a good player, if you are wanting to be a coach, is a good start. Even if it's only in terms of the impact you have on others initially. It's what you do after that matters.
It gives you that start, it gives you that legitimacy, that basis, doesn't it?
And also he had he understood the difference between working with those and working with a 32-year-old player.
Yeah.
And the difference in what it is you're trying to achieve. With those, you're trying to build on what you've got, make them good enough to move on. And at the other level, what you're trying to do is make sure that they can do it on Saturday.
Yeah. And he's always worked well with younger players because he did that himself when he was manager there. I get that. And talk about all the players.
And don't forget,
yeah,
don't underestimate background. Bloody hell. Talking about one of the best players in the world at one time. Yeah. Even if it's only for a week, I better listen to what he's got to say.
Yeah. And I don't think we can talk about people like Paul Hart and Eddie Gray without talking about almost your constant through that time, Michael Innigan. And we've spoken before about. Do you want to say a little bit about Michael and your relationship with him? You brought him in and what it was like in the dressing room and all that type of stuff.
Michael was an intelligent bloke. He was intelligent, but he was intelligent at a time in school when they didn't understand that some people can be intelligent, but there can be other defects that create the impression that they're not.
Yeah.
Simple as that. But Michael, the more we got to know each other and the more he worked with me, he became, he was just as intellectually up with it all as me. But as a personality, he was true to himself. And a lot of different ingredients in a good cake. And Michael at times could be exactly, sometimes you put your arm around them.
Yeah.
But then there are other times when putting your arm around them ain't enough because they don't respond to that at the time, you know. You've got to get them to realise that putting your arm around them is what really matters.
It's interesting because he was the one guy from what I understand that came across with you to Leeds. And he wasn't assistant manager, from what I understand, he wasn't assistant manager at Wesley, that was Peter Eustace.
Mm.
But you brought him in, he was your assistant manager at Leeds, was he? Was that, what was the thinking around that? Because what was his actual role at Sheffield Wednesday?
I can't remember, I think it was really used to, wasn't it?
But he was working with you and you obviously got on with him.
Yeah.
Talking about the FA, etc., we've talked before again about the Charter for Quality and you see that as really important. Can you tell me about how that came about? Was that something someone asked you to, something you wanted to do? Was it always the plan? So you go to the FA and it's one of your first big or the big thing. Just talk me through how that evolved and then we'll talk a little bit about what it says and what it meant.
Well, it was just a gradual it was a gradual process of which evolved into me thinking about player development, getting a bit involved in politics, and starting to, and also having been coaching and been quite successful, and learning that this person can understand coaching as much as this person, but people will listen more to this person because he's won more football matches than that one. You know, and that's just life. So someone at the FA understood that I did have a passion for coaching and coach education, and because of my background, also had experience which would start me off okay in a room. You know, if you get someone saying this about coach education and someone saying that about coach education, and they're both saying the same, the one who's going to have most impression is the one who can communicate his views better to people such that they buy into it more than they buy into that.
Okay.
It's been a good salesman, isn't it?
Yeah, and for those that don't know, and not everyone will know the detail, so if you just had to summarise the Charter for Quality, what was it about? What was it for? What was it intended to achieve?
It was about trying to create a better understanding of what development is. That forget the word training.
Yeah.
Training is part of development, but training is not development on its own. So training is understanding that if you want the engine to run, you've got to put petrol in it. The other way is understanding that, you've got to put petrol in it, but understanding what the petrol does and what makes it do what it does.
Okay, and a lot of it was based on what you'd seen elsewhere, because it talks about Europe and Italy and France, or Germany, Italy and France. So was it based on what you'd seen elsewhere and just trying to bring it together?
No, it's a combination of things. Combination and just learning as you go along. Just getting a better understanding and learning. I mean, it was the coaching thing that got me.
Yeah.
And all of a sudden realising that there was a logic. That coaching is different to training. That training somebody means basically what you need to do with that machine gun to make it work. Coaching learning or education learning means understanding more than just pulling the trigger.
And what I was struck by is it was all about structure and regulation, all that rules of the game, and it's also this thing. Not only did it talk about younger or youth football, it's also talks about women's football, and I don't think everybody understands. Do you want to say a little about what the intention was with that, and how successful do you think it was in shaping where we are now?
Well, I can't say how successful.
I know you can't, but you'll have a better idea than me, can't you?
No, it was just education. When I joined the FA, I became more aware of female involvement in the game, and the FA itself had already, started women's teams and so on. And it just seems hearts and minds are no different. That's the only difference. After that, it's football or it's athletics. Without wishing to have it printed, but men don't have a period every month.
That's true. And I suppose thinking about that, we've had success now with both the under-21s and the women's team. Do you look on that as being something part of your legacy? Do you see the linkage between what you did in doing that and what's turned out now?
I see the linkage. Yeah, I mean that idea and everything just grew as I got deeper into the role of technical director.
Yeah.
And getting involved in Europe.
Yeah.
I mean that in particular, because what I did find as I was travelling and being in meetings with French, German, Italian, and so on, that a lot of those countries tended to be slightly less influenced by your record in terms of your performance. Education was prime.
You're right. Okay.
The word education was prime. Whereas it took us a while in England, Britain, to understand that training is one thing, education is different.
Okay, that's been brilliant, Howard. I'm really grateful for that. I just suppose if we can close off, you were at the launch the other night. How did it make you feel being at the launch and hearing what was being said?
Slightly embarrassed.
Well, you shouldn't be. Honestly, you shouldn't be, because people meant all
that. Gratified. It's one thing to do something, and it just is nice when people say well done.
Well, there's plenty of people, I'll tell you now, since we've gone live, plenty of people said well done and thank you. Absolutely thank you. And for me, I say again what I've said before, you did something wonderful for my club, and it is one of my club, and it's like it did draw us out of a dark time, so I will be forever grateful, and I'm really pleased to be able to see you as I class you as a friend now, and hopefully we do. Really appreciate being invited in, Albert. Thanks very much. Thank you. Thanks a lot.
My pleasure.
All right.